So without any further ado, we'll start with Jon Linden, a dear old friend at Things. I think you have been with us since we started almost 9 years ago. Please share your screen and take it away, Jon.
Thank you, Magnus. Let's make sure that technology is working first. It's sharing.
Yeah, looks great.
Good. Cool. Thank you, Magnus, and thanks everyone for joining. I thought I'll take a slightly different approach to the presentation today, and rather than focusing on what we do, which I of course will talk about, I'm going to start from the perspective of what we see happening in the world of physical products. We just wrote a piece about the future of products, which is actually quite interesting. You will just nod your head and say that these are obvious things, but it's basically summarizing what's happening and why it's impacting pretty much any company that's working with physical things. Because what we see that's going on right now is that, first of all companies are basically global. And it's not just the big ones like the Volvos, the ABBs, and the Atlas Copco. Pretty much any new company, before they're being registered and put up a website, start getting inquiries from like Spain, Chile, and Australia, because that's just the nature of how things work, which means that when you sell product, they will be used in very different locations, meaning different climate, different landscape. If you have a vehicle, it's going to be different climate conditions. It's going to be that there are differences in culture, in how you do things and how you use things. And as you know, customers at the end of the day do a lot of crazy shit. So it's going to be very individual how every individual device is actually being used. And at the same time, we are providing more and more complex products. So even though digitalization to a large extent is helping to make the products more intuitive, it's also adding complexity, which means that you need more and more expertise. You cannot just buy a product. You need to basically buy a package with the product and the associated services in order to actually have it run in a good and functioning way. And the innovation rates just keeps going up and running faster and faster. New generations, new editions of the product, basically due to the global competition. If you're acting in a global market, you're also getting global competition, but also due to the fact that we have a very rapid technology development. I don't think that we have ever seen this many technology shifts going on at the same time. Historically, it's been that we had the web, we had email, we had mobile internet, we had 3G step by step sequentially. Right now, we have AI, IoT, VR, metaverse, ChatGPT, all these different things that are going on at the same time. And I think it's important to state the fact that every company doesn't have to become an AI company, for example. I don't even think that everyone has to use AI, but you have to make a very conscious decision about what you do and what you don't do. So you decide that this is what we're going to use and this is what we're going to use it for, and this we will ignore because it doesn't really make sense to us. Because also when you make decisions to do things with this new powerful technology, it typically comes with new regulations. We have to consider things like GDPR, the AI Act, the different kinds of legislations that impact the product. Because like we say in Bamse, if you're strong, you have to be nice. This kind of powerful technology comes with regulations. But it's not just about regulations. It's also about the requirements, both internal requirements, but also customer expectations. So when we're selling globally and you have customers worldwide, they do expect to get that kind of remote maintenance. And why remote maintenance? You could have like a local service partner. Yeah, but back to the fact that we're talking about very complex solutions, it means that you need the real genuine expertise. And those are typically situated at the headquarters, part of the product development team. So you need to be able to actually manage the product remotely. Also to make sustainable, financially sustainable business that is operating globally, remote maintenance kind of makes sense. And the other part is that customers don't expect anymore that they will have to call you when something breaks. They actually want you to tell them before it happens and preferably resolve it before it actually fails. We're in the transition from being reactive to being proactive, which makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons, not least from a sustainability perspective when it comes to how we can extend the product life of products by actually prolonging the life. If we don't run it until it breaks, of course, we're not going to have that kind of fatal wear. And if we can run it in a more optimal way based on where, how, and for what is actually being used, and as I said before, that can be very different from one installation to another, then you can prolong the life length of the product. And this is something that, if I just go back to when we started Ekkono in 2016, sustainability and energy efficiency, for example, was something that was nice to have. It was one of the check boxes that said that, well, good for our greenwashing. We definitely want to do that. It's not top priority. But today, especially after the change in energy pricing, that has become a very, very important thing. So the last part is that we are expecting things to be customized. And if we just look at how we do shopping online, when we go to Zalando or when we go to Netflix, we expect to get personal recommendations. I don't want generic recommendations that goes the same for everyone. I expect them to be personalized today. And I don't know if any of you have a Garmin watch, one of the latest edition, because it's really, really cool. The transition that they have done focused very much on training. And it used to be that I told you where you had, how far you've been running, where you've been running, and the pulse you had. Now it's taking it much, much further. It looks at your individual personal goals and how you can reach those and how you can improve your training, when you should be doing training, even if you had a bad night's sleep or if you're hungover, that it actually changes the training recommendations. So you get a very personal recommendation. And once you reach your goal, of course, that's going to change. And the Garmin watch has to change with it. And this is pretty typical and symptomatic for most of the products, all kinds of products, not just consumer product, but also in the industry. And this is all part of the service transformation that we're seeing. And this, of course, has an impact on the business. Historically, we have very much been focusing on selling things as a one-time transaction. You sell it at the price, you make money, and then you hope for the customer to come back maybe 3 years later to buy a new car, for example. Today, more and more companies or more and more industries switch to a more service-centric business model. The car industry has been struggling to actually go that way, even though it's been used quite extensively as an example. But what you want to do is do more of a recurring business where you charge the customer for the value you provide, which in this case is mobility. It's transportation from point A to point B. That's what you're buying. And the big difference here is not just how you charge it, but also that the focus shifts from what is the total cost of the BOM, the bill of material, because that's how you make profit in a transaction-based model, because you have the cost and then you look at how much more you can charge, and that is the margin you're getting, and that's dropping down to the bottom line. But in a service-centric model, you're looking more at the total cost of ownership for that product over the lifespan of that product, because the longer you can prolong the life length of that product, the longer it's billable to the customer, the longer it provides value to both you and the customer. So it's a very, very different approach to how you do things. And I think independent, if you go all the way with service transformation or not, at the end of the day, it boils down to IoT being very central to what we're talking about. It's been a buzz for a long time. Now it's not much of a buzz, but everyone's actually doing it. Everything is getting connected. Still, I don't think that most companies have really understood the true potential of IoT, because there's still a lot of talk about connecting things and collecting data, big data lakes, and what you're going to do with that and how you're going to capitalize it. While at the end of the day, what I really see as the big benefit of IoT is that you as a product OEM extend the relationship with your products out into the field, which means that you can see how every individual product is actually being used, how it performs, how it feels. You can upgrade it with new functionality. You can help run it in a sustainable way. You can even sell it as a service. And then the solution to doing this, because it has to be automated, is machine learning. The machine learns itself from the senses. And the traditional way of doing machine learning is that you look at the aggregated information from thousands of devices and you look for common denominators. As I've already said, there are not that many common denominators. A car that's being shipped to Kiruna will operate in a very different climate landscape, road and traffic conditions compared to one that goes to San Francisco. And I'm really interested in how my car will operate, how when mine needs servicing, how far I will go with the remaining range that I have on the battery. So we flip things around. When we talk about edge machine learning at Ekkono, because that's what we do, we're an edge machine learning software company, we actually do individual learning. So we start from the individual device. So we don't just do the inference part at the edge, we also do the training. So individual incremental training at the edge. And that might sound like a pretty trivial difference compared to just doing the inference part, but it actually makes the world of a difference, because that means that we can automatically incorporate these different local conditions, individual conditions into the model without telling it. You don't have to use manual work to do installation and tell the machine learning model about what's unique. That is automatically incorporated. Also, if something changes, like if you do a replacement of a wear part, that can be retrained. You can do the training on the high definition, very granular data with high resolution, which of course is much better than if you look at the blunt averages that you send to the cloud. And at the same time, you are improving the data integrity by not having to send all the sensitive raw data, but you can send the insights. And this is something that I think will be a very hot topic for the coming years, because everyone wants to extract data, and the customers, the companies in the industry are saying, no, when the ball bearing, the motor, the machine, and everything else, the compressor wants to extract this data, it becomes a pretty sensitive topic, because that will contain information about production rate, production stops, and so forth, which is why we think that this is the way you have to go. I'm out of time, so if you want to know more, look me up, Ekkono. You can find us online, and Magnus absolutely knows where to find us, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen in.
Thank you, Jon. Very well. I just wrote that you can raise questions if you like in the chat. I don't see any at this moment. Can I ask you one question myself?
Please.
This whole idea of utilizing IoT and machine learning things to sell your product as a service, it's been talked about so long times, and we all know it's very difficult to do. But I still think there are very few very good examples out there. So what do you see? Is it a slow development? Is it happening now, or you think? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's really happening now, and I think that we all know about the Gartner hype cycle. You have to get over the peak, and then you get to the backside where things are starting to become real. It's not just the hype and the fake. It's actually the real thing. So things are happening in the dark rather than out in the open. And I don't think that we see a lot of consumer goods where this has been applicable in the industry. I mean, there's not a single big industrial company that has not been going through a service transformation. Let's take Volvo. They haven't sold a truck in the last 8 years where they haven't had a service agreement that's actually central to the whole deal. That's where they make the money. And step by step, they're shifting more and more towards that model. We have a compressor company that we work with that are actually starting to provide air as a service. Very bad acronym, because it becomes AAS. But at the end of the day, it actually makes sense, because of the total cost of ownership, 92% is electricity to run the compressor. 92%, and it's still pretty expensive equipment. So it makes sense that you look at the whole part, and if we can run it more efficiently, we can save you money, and it's going to be a better deal for both parties.
I have a question for you from the audience. How will the learning from the individual device be adopted to a portfolio of devices? How to avoid outliers?
Yep. So one part, and we just got additional funding from the EIC, the EU, for this is federated learning. So since we're training one individual, or we can train one individual machine learning model per device, we can aggregate the machine learning models and compare them. So we do model correlation, and then you're able to identify outliers. And not just outliers from the entire product base, but like your peers. If you want to compare between units that are operating in Central Europe or whatever it might be, so you can do that outlier detection. You can also use it to generate new supermodels that you deploy. So that's how you can improve by learning also from many. So I would say that's probably the key component from a technology perspective when it comes to doing that federated learning.
Great. I have to leave it there for now, Jon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know you will jump on your phone now and follow up. So thank you so much.